Okay, so we're almost ready to move on to transfer this onto the isometric grid, but I just noticed I hadn't inked in this circle and I've missed these curves on the edge, and they're quite important. So again, if we look at our side, they start here. So if I just go up to here and do a little dash here and a little dash here, and then we were just going to want to come in half a square from the middle of these two, and again the middle is halfway, so 1 2 3 4 5. That's going to be just about there. So I want to do a nice curve that just comes into about halfway and then curves back out, and then I want to do exactly the same on the top side, so half a square in, that point there and that point there, and I want to come half a square in. With this complete, please go ahead, pause the video, finish drawing this, and then what I'd really like you to do is to cam scan this in, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to want to draw this onto our cube that we drew earlier. So here's my cube from earlier. Now, if we try and line this up side by side, we can see that we've got a representation for each one of these sides, and all we need to do is use the same lines that we use here on this surface, and the same lines from here on this surface, and the same way of centering our circle on this surface. Now, before we get too far into that, something that we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to draw circles on isometric paper. Now, when you draw a circle on isometric paper, it doesn't quite look the same. It's a little bit different, and we'll have to go back at looking at how the squared paper works with a circle before we can move forward on drawing a circle on our isometric paper. So up here on the page, I'm just going to draw a quick square that's 4 by 4. Now, if the center point of a circle was here, and we were to draw a circle here, and the circle had a radius of 2 squares, we know the circle would pass through this point, this point, this point, and this point. We know that's true because of maths, because we know the radius stays the same, so if it's 2 squares away, it's always 2 squares away. In fact, we can use a compass to draw a circle for that very reason. However, when we move on to isometric paper, this doesn't work the same. So let's finish drawing this circle, and remember we always want to be 2 away, but what we really want to do is we want to try and draw a sweeping curve that remains the same throughout. Now, I like to imagine that I'm playing a top-down racing game, and I've got a racing car racing along this line, and my racing car needs to make a nice sweep around here and go through 2 checkpoints. Now, if I continue past this checkpoint and try and turn really quickly and then go around, I'm going to lose a lot of speed in the corner. If I turn too quickly and go from here to here, I'm going to lose a lot of speed here and here. What I want is a nice sweeping curve that goes around like this. So I come down here and I'm having to go straight as I come through here, and I'm going to be going straight when I come through here, and I sweep round. Then I can do exactly the same on the bottom, and on here, and on here. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, okay, why doesn't he just get something round and draw around it? The reason is now when we move across onto our isometric paper, we can use what we've learnt there to draw a circle in isometric. So if I draw the same square, and I go 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, and 1 2 3 4, I know the center is here, and I know that we will travel through this point, this point, this point, and this point. But if at this point here I just draw a circle, it's not going to be right because these lines on the top are pointing up. So again, I use the racing car analogy. I'm going along in a racing car. I need to turn the corner and end up going in a straight line here. Now this corner here is going to end up looking a bit like the top of an egg. It's going to go up and round and down. Same is true for this one. It's going to go down and sweep up. And then these sides are going to be much longer sweeping curves. You can see the distance between here and here is much longer than the distance between here and here because of the way that this is a much shallower angle than this. But they're still the same distance away from the corner points. So this one here, I'm going to come down and this is going to sweep much longer to there. And this one the same. And that's basically the art of drawing a circle using isometric paper and by drawing a square around the outside. Now I actually have this tool here, and this is an ellipse tool, and you can use the ellipse tool to create circles in isometric very well, and you can see that my ellipse that I've drawn wasn't too far off of the standard one. That one was a little bit too small, which is probably why it didn't line up. If I find one that's a bit bigger, there we go. You can see mine almost perfectly goes over the top. Now we need to use this in order to draw the front and to draw this first curve, this first circle. We're also going to need to use this method to draw the screw and also this semicircle here. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to draw a box around it and then put dashes in each of the corners. So I'll start drawing this. If you want to draw along you can. If you'd like to pause and try and do it yourself, feel free. So first thing I'm going to do is this circle here. Now this circle comes slightly outside of this box. The box needs to be 1.5 out. So I'm going to find that center point again. It's 2 in and 2 up. So 2 in and 2 up is there, and then I'm going to draw very lightly those 4 points. So it's 1.5 up, 1.5 out, 1.5 down, 1.5 out. And I can sketch in very lightly what that square would look like on there. It's always a good chance to just make sure you've got it right, make sure you haven't measured one out wrong. And again, I'm going to come down this line, egg shape, down this line, long sweep, down this line, much steeper curve, and round. And again, I'm fortunate enough to have that wonderful ellipse template. I can even have a quick little check and have a look if that looks about right, and you can see it does. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here. Feel free to transfer as much of this information as you can onto the top, and also you're going to want to cut in the sides and draw those lines going down the sides. You have to cut in the top and the bottom. Alright, see you in the next video.